Life is about love and light. Creating it and sharing it with as many people as we can is our life mission. Pascal at my side, together forever. These are the words of my guest tonight. He needs absolutely no introduction. He's an acclaimed fashion designer. We're at the beach, guys, we're at the beach, both nationally and internationally. Everyone, my guest this week on Sunday Girl is Dawn O'Neill.
Lovely to be here, Orla, with you in my own back garden as the seagulls are chirping overhead and the waves are crashing behind us.
I know, we're listening
Welcome
to
to
all the
Ballyheigue.
sounds around us, and we're looking at the sky so that it doesn't rain. And we're hearing the tide come in. And look, it's a joy to catch up with you here. I think, Dawn, I know you since 2009.
You do?
Yeah, when we met, I remember actually coming out here to collect you, to drive you over to the Ado Heights Hotel.
Yes, you did.
Where you were showing your Theia collection.
Well, it was all thanks to you, Orla, because I had just launched Theia in America. I think we were only 6 months old, and you were the first person to sort of recognize me here in Ireland as the designer of Theia and basically as a designer in general. And you invited me back to be part of Kerry Fashion Week. And I think at the time, Louise Kennedy and Melanie Morris were fellow judges. And I was so honored to be recognized among those two women that I totally idolized. And then I came back here and you picked me up in Ballyheigue with my collection. And off we went to the Ado Heights. And we were greeted by Mary Chalk.
That's right.
And Mary made me feel like a superstar. She's such a great hostess and we felt so welcome there. And the weekend was just magical. And it was the first time Mom and Dad, Patrick and Deirdre, got to see my collection on models in a fashion show here in Ireland. That was the beginning of a wonderful ride for me. That whole period, I just finished up Ballyheigue. I had just created Theia, and it was the beginning of an extraordinary chapter in my career. And you were right there.
Like, I remember you from then, but just for everybody else watching us, take us right back to where it all started, so here in Ballyheigue.
Welcome to Ballyheigue, and you're actually sitting here in my back garden. And basically, if it was a fine day, we'd be looking out at the sun sparkling on the bay here, and it started with that. The sparkle of the sun for a little boy, I had no idea why, but I just wanted to cut that out and make it into a dress, which is a bizarre thing for a 6 or 7 year old to want to do, but that was the genesis of the collection. And following the light and following the sparkle, and it literally has taken me all the way through my career. It's like a thread that connects the entire journey. So starting here in Ballyheigue, wanting to be a designer, applied for both Limerick and Cork Colleges of Art. And the idea was that I would ultimately end up in Limerick and study fashion in Limerick. Cutting to the chase, I got homesick at the age of 17 in college and decided art, fashion wasn't for me. I'd be a chef instead. Went back to college, trained to be a chef. 2 years into, I graduated and I was working in Galway, and there was a competition in the Irish Independent to win. Well, the second prize was a Michael Mortel suit, and I was obsessed with Michael Mortel. So I entered the competition thinking I would win the suit for Deirdre, which would be awesome for Deirdre. But turns out I won first prize, and first prize was tuition to the Barbara Burke College of Fashion. So I decided to go pack away the knives and go back to college and train to be a designer. And as fate would have it, Gina Fertini from London, a really well-known evening wear designer, was in Dublin working with Brown Thomas. She was doing a trunk show, and she judged our final fashion show, our graduation show. And fortunately, I won Designer of the Year, which was fantastic.
Amazing.
And I had the chutzpah. I guess I've been in New York. You all know what chutzpah means. It's the nerve to ask Gina for a job.
I'm glad you defined that, because I had no idea.
So I moved to London and showed up on Gina's doorstep and said, "Hi, here I am." And Gina was really sweet and said, "Okay, here you are, come on in." And I started interning there with her, which was an extraordinary experience. But it wasn't paid, and I needed a paid job. So while I was looking for my job and working at Gina's, I eventually found a job with Donald Campbell. Extraordinary experience, worked with him for 2.5 years. London, 3 years at that stage, and my dream was to go to Paris, always to be a designer in Paris. So I got a bee in my bonnet, I was going to leave. I resigned from Donald, told him I was moving to Paris. And I literally had just resigned, and I was headhunted by Dale Tryon. And she convinced me to come work for her. Theia was a really good friend of Prince Charles, and her nickname was Kanga, which he had given to her. And she made these frothy, frilly, uncrushable dresses that people wore to Ascot and different posh events in London. And Princess Diana actually wore one to Wimbledon, which was extraordinary and got great press for the brand. And everyone was talking about Dale Tryon. The store was in Beecham Place. And that was an extraordinary experience. And I worked there for probably 6 or 7 months. And it was time for me to move on. So eventually Paris was definitely in the cards. I just showed up in Paris, and then I'm there. I'm like, oh gosh, yeah. Now I need to make a life for myself here and learn the language. And through contacts and restaurants that I worked in, I got to meet people in fashion, and it led me to an opportunity to work with a costume company. And that costume company was the reason I got to meet Pascal, because I was making costumes for the company he was dancing for.
I heard that beautiful story at your wedding as well.
And that's for another
video.
Another video. And I also got to introduce to Christian Lacroix through that same contact, which was the highlight of my time in Paris, to work with haute couture in his haute couture salon in Paris.
And you knew him personally, and you worked with him?
Well, now I do. Now we're great friends.
Okay.
And actually, I had a lovely text from him because he congratulated me on the article that just came out in Anthology. So that was very sweet of him. So yes, I'm still in touch with Christian Lacroix. He's wonderful.
And can I just ask you, just before you fly over to America, I've seen an awful lot of photographs of you modelling.
Oh yes.
And you're dashing. What part of the timeline was the modelling career?
Well, the modelling started when I was at the Barbara Burke College in Dublin.
Okay,
and
so when you were still in Dublin.
one of my teachers were like, maybe Don, you should go and you could earn some extra money. So I was with Geraldine Brand, which is
know her. I know
still
her
around.
agency. When I was growing up in Dublin, she was huge.
And I did a few jobs for Geraldine, and actually I found one the other day, which is hilarious. But anyway, I should show you that. It's really fun. My career was a little bit short in Dublin, and then when I moved to Paris, I continued, and I was with an agency called Glamour Homes in Paris. So I got to do some work also in Paris, but it was always it wasn't huge. That wasn't meant to be. Modelling wasn't going to be my thing, but at least I got a little bit of a shot at it anyway.
And it gave you a perspective, I think, then as your
career
developed,
what I did,
you kind of got an understanding of what
I
it was
did
like.
learn, which was really important, was how models are treated at castings. And in Paris it can be brutal. And I remember going into castings in Paris where people they just didn't bid me the time of day. And
they don't even look up.
They didn't look up.
No.
There was one casting I went to at Hermes, and they were looking at my book. I walked in, they were in a conversation. I walked in, I put my book down. They're still in a conversation. They're turning the pages on my book. I'm standing there, and because
they don't even look at you.
I had only 10 pictures on my book of a book of 30 leaves. Then they're turning blank pages, and I'm standing there like they're turning empty pages. And then they just said thank you and pushed the book back without looking at me. And I'm like, I felt like this
inhuman,
big, which I've come to understand now that there's more to it. But I just know for young models at the time, it's very hard for their esteem, and I know the industry is tough. So now, or since then, I've always treated the girls on my castings with respect. I go through their books, I compliment them on their pictures, because even if they're not right for me, there's nothing wrong with them.
Correct.
And I let them always leave the casting knowing
You're
that
human,
they're
keep them
beautiful,
down.
that thank you for coming, and I let them all try on gowns. And my assistant's like, oh Jesus, Don, the castings are taking forever, because I'll have every girl try on a dress, get to walk, so that they leave feeling special.
Very important.
Yeah,
very important. I know of our own models that modelled with you. I mean, they adore you. And even the girls that came in who knew that ultimately they weren't going to be wearing your gowns, maybe for a height reason or a look reason, that you made them feel individually special, and they all got to wear your gowns. So thank you for understanding it from a model's perspective. So listen, we're going to take you now.
Are we up to our 50 minutes already?
We must be, at least. We'll put a longer version of this interview on YouTube. Okay, we're going to whiz. Okay, we're going to fly you over the Atlantic to New York. Was Pascal at your side at that point, or did you go to New York on your own?
I met Pascal right before I left, literally maybe 6 months before I left to go to the United States. So that was leaving France, opportunities in America, but was I leaving Paris too early? I had just worked at Lacroix, but I couldn't, if I didn't use the green card, I would have lost it. Therefore, Mr. Lacroix very kindly, because I confided in him, had me called his astrologist and asked her for her advice on what Don should do, and the astrologist told him that I should go to New York. And my first job, there was a very short blip with Ola Cassini, but my real first job was with Carmen Marc-Bavo. I remained there for 10 years, and that was an extraordinary opportunity. Carmen was a brilliant designer who understood women's bodies, After 10 years, I was headhunted by JS Group to head up Badgley Mishka. It was a licensing agreement that JS had with Badgley, and I had become really well known at that stage as the designer of Badgley. And the company decided to end the licensing agreement, and we would create a new brand, which I would spearhead, and thus I created Theia.
And you came up with the name Theia as well.
I did.
And Theia means, for everyone, it means
Theia
goddess?
is goddess, and not only that, Theia is the Greek goddess of light. And what was magical about Theia in mythology was the world was a dark place, and then she had 3 children, Helios, the sun, Eos, the dawn, and Selene, the moon, and they illuminated the world and brought light into it. And the ethos behind my collections was when you put my dresses on, that you feel so good that your inner light shines through. Okay. Everyone has an inner light, by the way. Just so, as you're listening, you have an inner light, and some of us don't allow that light to shine. And it's equally beautiful in everybody, and I do my best to allow that, to enhance that, so that you feel that light shining through.
And I know that women who wore your gowns, and I was lucky enough to wear your gowns.
And you look
also,
stunning.
That's my favourite ever
The
gown.
one with the pockets, with the long sleeves.
Gown.
You looked great in that.
This was everything. I feel like a princess. But I know that women who wear them, they felt the very best versions of themselves because you dressed women. And I think that philosophy, that ethos has followed you through as well, is that you made women of all shapes, heights and sizes look and feel like a goddess when they wore your gown. But I know, look, everybody knows about Meghan Markle when you dressed her, and they know about Oprah and like so many other stars. But other highlights apart from that?
Well, I have to say again, some of the big highlights for me are the ones that come back here home. And there was a wonderful occasion where I got to bring back my sunset gown, and it was on my niece Aoife, who's gorgeous.
And you're home here now at the moment.
I'm home for 3 months.
You're home for 3 months, and we were actually just saying before we started is that since you left here, basically at 17, this is the longest period of time that you've been home here. Is it different being home here for a period of time as opposed to when you used to kind of zip in and out for a week?
It's so extraordinary, and I have, for any of you that don't know why I'm home, COVID literally brought Theia to an end for me. Many things changed in the evening wear environment within the company I worked for, and at the time it was sad to see my baby literally taken away from me, but it was also, I think, I was coming to a period of change. I needed something new to happen in my life, and I think COVID created the opportunity for that to happen.
For the next phase, but I know you're writing a book as well, so you're not really stopping.
I am writing a book. It's my autobiography. So everything that we didn't get to discuss here today in our 15 minutes, I don't know how you're getting it 15 minutes.
It's going to be the long versions on YouTube, remember that.
The book is already almost 400 pages, and I'm only halfway through my life, so I think it's going to be a tome. But I'm hoping, I'm not hoping, it will be on bookshelves for Christmas of next year. There'll be the underlying message of the book to sort of just trust in yourself and to trust in the universe and to trust in God if you trust in it, if you believe in a divine power, which I do, and that you'll be guided through.
Yes, the light.
The light. And
yes.
It's all about, that was the light that I was guided by.
Yeah, it is. And you've mentioned that right from 6 years of age when you stood and looked out at the sea here, right to this day, right to what I read out at the very beginning of the interview. It is about the light.
Guided by the light,
yeah,
definitely.
Guided by the light.
Yeah.
Don, thank you for this very short 15-minute interview.
Good luck at editing this down, Orla.
You're a joy.
So now we can have some blueberry pie.
I'm so happy you're in my life, and yes, let's go in and look, all that cooking experience, all that chefing didn't go to waste. We're now going to go in and eat the blueberry pie. I hope you have cream.
I do have cream.
Oh yes, okay, we're going to go eat the blueberry pie. Listen everyone, thanks a million for joining both of us here in the glorious setting of Ballyheigue, and from both of us we wish you love and light for the week ahead.
Thank you, Orla. This was lovely.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.